The gentleman yields back. I now recognize Ms. Stefanik for 5 minutes.
Oh, I love being able to respond to the novice from New York. First of all, thank you so much for stating the obvious that political lawfare is in fact election interference. That's what we're seeing with the sham Alvin Bragg trial. Thank you also to the novice freshman member for New York, highlighting that withholding military aid to an ally for a political purpose, just like Joe Biden is doing to Israel. Always grateful for you stepping in it. Mr. Costello, in your opening statement, you said that in the over 50 years serving as a lawyer, you, quote, have never seen the types of politically motivated cases that have been brought in this presidential election season. These political cases are being used as a weapon of war to damage, defeat, or impede political adversaries and their allies. Instead of political warfare, it is lawfare, a cancer upon our collective judicial system. I want to begin with Alvin Bragg's weaponized sham trial in New York. Isn't it true that in Alvin Bragg's campaign for Manhattan DA, Bragg specifically ran on going after President Donald Trump?
That is true.
Isn't it true that Bragg's predecessor, Cy Vance, declined to prosecute President Trump?
That is true.
And the FEC also did not prosecute President Trump.
That is true.
And the DOJ did not prosecute President Trump in this case.
The DOJ referring to the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District?
Correct.
Absolutely true.
And one of the reasons the Southern District of New York turned down this case was because the supposed star witness, according to Alvin Bragg, Michael Cohen, was totally, quote, unworthy of belief. Isn't that true?
Without a doubt.
This is the same Michael Cohen who pled guilty to 7 counts in an indictment that had absolutely nothing to do with President Trump and actually predated the first time he met President Trump, correct?
Absolutely true.
And in fact, this is the same Michael Cohen who perjured himself to Congress. Isn't that true?
Yes.
In fact, when called as a witness in this sham trial, Cohen was asked directly if he was honest during his testimony to Congress. He said no, admitting perjury. But it's not just Bragg's case that is a total sham and illegal political lawfare going after Joe Biden's top political opponent, Donald Trump. This rot goes deep all the way up to the top in the Oval Office. Because when Congress referred this admission of Cohen's perjury to Joe Biden's DOJ, isn't it true that the DOJ has refused to prosecute?
That is true.
Isn't it correct that Michael Colangelo, who was the 3rd highest ranking official in Biden's DOJ, was transferred to Bragg's office to run this weaponized prosecution of President Trump? Isn't that true?
Not only true, but it's unheard of.
Unheard of. It's a disgrace. Do you agree that this weaponization of lawfare goes straight to the top with the purpose of helping Joe Biden's failing presidential campaign?
The circumstantial evidence definitely supports that.
And the unconstitutional gag order on President Trump from New York Judge Merchant is unprecedented lawfare.
As far as I know, absolutely.
And let's go to the daughter of the judge. Isn't it true that she is raising millions of dollars off of this sham case?
Well, I have to say I've read that in the media. I don't know it of my own knowledge.
It is true.
Thank you.
One additional question. I want to talk about the rigged and unprecedented jury selection process. Isn't it true that Bragg's team asked the jurors if they followed Trump on social media?
Yes.
And isn't it true that they did not ask any of the potential jurors if they followed Biden on social media?
Or Michael Cohen.
Or Michael
Yes.
Cohen.
Yeah.
And isn't it true that 87% of the jurors said they voted for Joe Biden?
That's true.
Is this unprecedented and lawfare jury shopping?
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt. Political lawfare for the purpose of election interference to go after Donald Trump. Do you agree?
Totally.
This is one of the reasons that Trump's polls continue to skyrocket, and it's why President Trump will win in 2024 to end the illegal and warped weaponization of the justice system, because if they can illegally go after Trump, they can go after anyone. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back.
I just have to say, this is prosecutorial malpractice. This is a failure by prosecutors to either know this and not raise it with Michael Cohen on his direct, or to not know it, which would mean Michael Cohen's lying right now. And here's just in
but we don't know that yet, that they have not, that they've truly failed to rehabilitate. I mean, to call it misconduct is quite a sweeping statement.
No, not misconduct. I didn't say misconduct. I said malpractice. It's
okay,
malpractice.
But to not bring it up, if you're a juror and you're sitting there and you're thinking, well, this trial's almost over.
Right.
And we're finding out that this document that is the crux of the matter has, the term is fruit of the poisonous tree, which is a doctrine that I'm not referring to, because that has to do with like an illegal search. But the idea that this is This is what the case is about, this document. And what you're telling me that there's lies in here from Michael Cohen that you didn't tell me about until now?
Exactly. And to be clear, I said malpractice, meaning terrible practice, not unethical. That would be misconduct. The crux of the prosecution's case is Donald Trump knew what that $420,000 was for. It was for Stormy Daniels. Michael Cohen read him in on all of it. He was fine with it. Turns out Michael Cohen was stealing from Donald Trump within that $420,000. And Donald Trump not only didn't know, he certainly never would have agreed to be robbed.
It's fascinating stuff, and I have to say I'm still kind of reeling from the revelation that Michael Cohen stole money from the Trump organization, and that wasn't, at least to my knowledge, that the prosecution didn't get that out earlier, because it's not as though the prosecution is going to be helped by further evidence that Michael Cohen is a shady character. I mean, I'll get to the newest stuff in a second, but what's your reaction to that news? Because that was just kind of stunning.
I'm shocked that we are hearing it for the first time on day 3 of cross-examination of Michael Cohen, that the prosecution did not take the sting out, did not front it, because it goes to the heart of the actual case. It's not just about establishing him as a liar. They've done that. The prosecution fronted that. We knew that. He has convictions. But going to the heart of what you were telling your employer about what money you were owed and the extent of it, we're talking about $420,000. We've already seen the payment structure here.
This isn't like $15.
It's not $15.
They are basing this entire thing on these memos, these bills.
Right.
That's the documentary evidence that people like Laney Davis have been saying, you don't have to believe Michael Cohen, believe these bills. And now we find out, there's bogus stuff in these bills too that Donald Trump might not have known about, certainly didn't know about.
And that's why this is, to use another metaphor, this is a bomb. This is really important. This is a bomb dropped in the middle of the prosecution's case. 2 reasons. 1, Michael Cohen was stealing from Donald Trump. He was lying to people about what he was doing with money. He pocketed at least the $30,000 by lying to Weisselberg.
It's twice, really, by the way, because remember they double it to avoid tax reasons.
So $60,000, which, by the way, this is crushing to the prosecution's credibility, because the prosecution did not ask Michael Cohen about that on direct, and they haven't made him plead guilty to larceny.
Which this is.
So let's start with that. Look, real quick. The other reason it's so important is the money that Michael Cohen stole from under Donald Trump's nose,
by his own admission today,
was part of the $420,000 that Michael Cohen was reimbursed for Stormy Daniels. So the heart of the prosecution's case is that whole setup where they were going to repay Michael Cohen $420,000 to reimburse him for Stormy Daniels. That was all done to pay Stormy Daniels. Trump knew it. Trump knew every penny. That's why he's guilty. Now it turns out Trump is getting robbed by his own guy.
Yeah, I mean, my question here is why.
Hey guys, it's your girl Melanie. So I wanted you guys to see basically CNN in a tailspin. I will say they are at least trying to be more honest than BSNBC is. But it was a bomb dropped in court yesterday by Michael Cohen that he actually was stealing the money from Trump. Trump did not know where this money was going. And they are basically laying it out. So if CNN is saying this and in this much of a panic, this is another case that has fallen apart for the Democrats there in New York, the Democratic Party, where we already know the federal case with Jack Smith is indefinitely on hold. We already know about Fannie Pack. That case is going nowhere. That train has derailed. The only thing getting hit by getting a train run on them is her. And now Letitia James, most likely a lot of experts are saying that is going to be overturned in appeal. And now with this, it has completely fallen apart. Michael Cohen admitted to lying and admitted to thieving. I mean, the man is and admitted he's doing this because he has a vendetta against Trump because he didn't get paid enough. It is an absolute zoo and a nightmare for the prosecution. But you're going to want to listen to this entire thing because you're not going to believe what comes out of CNN's mouth about Alvin Bragg, about the prosecutors, and about this case. It's going to shock you with them being this honest. But make sure you guys are subscribed to my channel and hit the notification bell. You are not going to want to miss what these videos. I'm scouring the internet to find you guys the best information so that you can get straight to the point and not have to watch the hundreds of videos coming out every day about these different things. But let's get into it. Stay tuned.
Has no one coached Michael Cohen, or why does Michael Cohen not say when asked on this on Cross, I don't recall? I mean,
just so you know, she is actually wants him to perjure himself to lie and say, I don't recall. CNN, this woman is actually saying, why doesn't he just lie and say, I don't recall? They are actually encouraging and supporting perjury. This is what this analyst on CNN is saying that Michael Cohen should have been coached by the prosecution to lie on the stand. Yes.
Isn't that kind of the universal?
Apparently, he does recall, though.
He does recall it's a lie.
But Tim, is this? I mean, we've been wondering all along. All you need is one juror to say I have reasonable doubt. What's your assessment of whether or not any reasonable juror would have reasonable doubt based on this information?
Well, I think this is significant for reasonable doubt purposes. You now have two major issues. One of the phone calls that wasn't, what he originally talked about, and the calculation of the money that wasn't what he originally talked about. And it's not only, going to his credibility, but it also goes to Alvin Bragg's office's credibility. Because
how did they not get this out ahead of time?
Exactly.
No idea. No idea.
And you have two different things. When it comes to the Schiller call, they're going to argue to the jury, how did they not know that? Why did we have to bring it out? We got it from the text that we got from discovery from them, and apparently Michael Cohen said they never asked him about it. They didn't figure it out.
No, he says Cohen says he has told multiple prosecutors with the DA's office about it.
Correct.
Assuming that's true. I mean, we don't, again, we don't know if that's true. But he's saying he told them about it. They didn't bring it up.
This is worse.
So the prosecution was hiding evidence. Basically hiding evidence. Michael Cohen says he told them about that he stole this money, but to multiple prosecutors, but they never did anything about it. They went ahead with this case because they were so gung-ho with this lawfare case against Trump that they were willing to support perjury and hide evidence in this case.
Because this is something that he discussed with prosecutors. Prosecutors knew that the evidence they were putting on was tainted by this additional crime, and they didn't talk about it.
I have a devil's advocate question.
Sure.
Is it possible that the prosecution can come back and redirect and somehow tie what looks like him just flatly stealing money from the Trump organization to him paying himself back in order to cover up the crime that's alleged in this case?
They have to make every effort to rehabilitate Michael Cohen. They have to do so. They also have to rehabilitate.
Wait, did you hear that question? She basically said, can they come back and just lie and just try to fix it and put a Band-Aid on it? The guy's face is just sitting there like, I know you didn't just ask me this question. I believe that's illegal.
To Tim's point as well, their larger credibility that they may have. A juror could be thinking, well, why didn't I hear this before? You've given me a witness. You've told me about this person. You left out that after going through 90 minutes of all the different documents. But I want to refocus everyone for a second on what the government has to prove and why this is such a bombshell, as we've been talking about. Going to the tablet on this, because the checklist, they have to actually prove everyone.
Bring out the tablet.
Bring out the tablet. They have to prove that there was an intent to defraud. Here is the biggest part of this. If you are the defendant in this case, this is what they have to prove. You made and caused a false entry in the business records. If Michael Cohen was the one to falsify the number of documents there that he was not aware of what he was actually spending or what he was actually paying, well, then you've got an issue. Remember, this is all coming down to 11 checks to Cohen, 11 invoices submitted by Cohen, and then 12 entries in Trump's ledger. Now, one thing that they can do on the actual rehabilitation and certainly in jury instructions is that you have the ability to give an instruction in New York law that talks about intentionally aiding. The law in New York defines it as you may have caused somebody to do so, or that you may be liable if you were the one in some respect or another to actually help somebody to do the crime itself. This is important, but you have to make sure that you can still prove that there was the intent to defraud, the intent to falsify. If Michael Cohen was the one to falsify, it's an interesting political decision that Trump had to make for his defense counsel. On the one hand, they spent a great deal of time in his books, right, talking about how he was one to sign the checks. No detail is too small to consider. Here's what any billionaire knows. You run a business this way. You have to know what's really going on inside of your business. Well, he has to admit, for the sake of his defense, that he was hustled by Michael Cohen, that he did not know what was going on. If that's the case, he had a problem.
I just have to say, this is prosecutorial malpractice. This is a failure by prosecutors to either know this and not raise it with Michael Cohen on his direct, or to not know it, which would mean Michael Cohen's lying right now. And here's just
but we don't know that yet, that they have not, that they've truly failed to rehabilitate. I mean, to call it misconduct is quite a sweeping statement.
No, not misconduct. I didn't say misconduct. I said malpractice. It's
But to not bring it up, if you're a juror and you're sitting there and you're thinking, well, this trial's almost over.
Right.
And we're finding out that this document that is the crux of the matter has, the term is fruit of the poisonous tree, which is a doctrine that I'm not referring to because that has to do with like an illegal search. But the idea that this is this is what the case is about, this document, and what you're telling me that there's lies in here from Michael Cohen that you didn't tell me about until now?
Exactly. And to be clear, I said malpractice, meaning terrible practice, not unethical. That would be misconduct. The crux of the prosecution's case is Donald Trump knew what that $420,000 was for. It was for Stormy Daniels. Michael Cohen read him in on all of it. He was fine with it. Turns out Michael Cohen was stealing from Donald Trump within that $420,000. And Donald Trump not only didn't know, he certainly never would have agreed to be robbed.
It's fascinating stuff, and I have to.
So guys, you heard it there, CNN. This is malpractice. This is a bombshell. This case is pretty much over. You know, if this jury is not biased, their star witness, the key piece of evidence, it is trash at this point. It has no merit because Michael Cohen admitted to defrauding and lying in there, meaning he defrauded Trump by intentionally defrauded him. And actually, he's the one that had them put this in their ledger. But Trump didn't know what was going on. So if Trump didn't know what was going on with that, he couldn't have known what was going on with any of this. Why would he allow him to be defrauded? Michael Cohen made these things up. This is insane. I'm just laughing because you guys know I'm independent. So to see the lawfare that was committed and them trying to prosecute Trump, and also we know they're trying to interfere with the 2024 election by all of these cases when it's done nothing but actually help bolster him with voters. And if you look at the polls, and has made Biden look worse, made the Democrats look worse. It's a clown show, but you saw it here first. CNN is finally trying to tell the truth, even though one of them was trying to.
Wow, what a casa de caca. This whole thing has gone sideways. This is just so sad. This is a very sad time in American history. We're used to this type of stuff happening in communist countries and tin horn republics and banana republics. Americans are not used to seeing this type of stuff so overtly happening in America. Think about this. If they can do this to a billionaire ex-president, they could do this to anybody. Just imagine what little people like you or I, if we were to cross them and they didn't like our political views or what we had to say, the things that they could do to us. They're just making things up to try to get these guys, throwing anything on the wall to see what sticks. And it's actually backfiring on them. In the first video, I had Elise Stefanik, they're in Congress, talking about, she was examining a witness that was talking about how all of this was lawfare done on purpose to try to trip up Trump or stop him, because they cannot beat him in an election, no matter how much they fudge the numbers or any other things that they try to do. Go watch that movie, 100 Mules. They are doing everything they can to try to stop him. This Trump guy is so squeaky clean, they have to make stuff up. They have to twist the facts. We're just finding out now that the prosecution's main witness in this whole thing has admitted to lying, and he said that he told the prosecution that he had done these things, and the prosecution didn't want to hear it, continued on with the case anyway. They continued on with the case anyway. He said he told the prosecution this stuff. So what was the whole purpose of this? I guess the purpose was to try to steer this into a judge that would allow this to happen. Oh, by the way, the judge's daughter is making millions of dollars from this case. She works on campaigns for the Democrats. So isn't that suspicious? Oh, hey, we got a judge in the case. The daughter makes money from the case. So is the judge getting paid in the back alley with brown paper bags full of money. This is an absolute caca show. This is just unbelievable. If they can do this to Donald Trump, they can do this to anybody. They are doing everything they can to try to stop him, making up all kinds of wacky things. The Letitia James thing is bunk. They're just making up. He didn't do anything wrong in that case. He did what every real estate person has ever done. I've done it. Everybody's done it. You do it with real estate. And now the case in Georgia is falling apart. We're finding out that the DA and the prosecutor in that case had made trips to the White House before the trial. We're also finding out that the other case, this one in New York, the DOJ lawyer, they did some shifting around to make sure that they were in charge of this case, which the witness said is unprecedented. All of this is unprecedented. They're just making things up. Donald Trump is so squeaky clean, they have to do this in order to try to get him. It's very scary when you think that if they could do this to him, they could do it to anybody. This case also has this Juan Marchand guy. He's putting a gag order on Trump, because what's Trump going to do? He's going to go out there and say, hey, guess what? This judge is paid off. His daughter's getting millions of dollars in Democratic contributions. Oh, and by the way, this judge, this judge who's a Democrat is, they're also trying to pack the jury with all Democrats in New York, where they all supposedly hate Trump. This is just very scary. Everybody in America needs to know about this. Thank God that this is all falling apart in front of their faces. And the reason why it's all falling apart is because Donald Trump has the ability to defend himself. He's got billions of dollars. He's got the best lawyers in the world. Imagine what would happen to us if they decided to do this. There's people sitting in jail right now that haven't been charged. That's the basis, the crux of American judicial system, is to not be thrown into jail without charges. We've got people in Washington that have been sitting in jail for years and they have not been charged with anything. So that tells you how desperate these guys are to stop Trump from becoming president, because they know that if he becomes president, they're all going to end up in Guantanamo. Not just military courtrooms. It's going to have to not just civilian courtrooms. It's going to be military courtrooms, because a lot of these people may be taking money from foreign countries. They may be enemy combatants. They might be considered enemy combatants. Look at all these DAs that are taking money from George Soros, and that are allowing criminals to get in and then get out. And by the way, this isn't George Soros' first rodeo. This is what he's done all of his political career. All through his life, what he has done is he has sent money to political operatives in other countries to run coups d'etats, to pay off politicians and judges, to look the other way while these crimes go on. So then the protesters in the street can smash and destroy and facilitate coups d'etats, and they get put back out on the street. That's what's happening in America. This George Soros guy has made trillions of dollars from knowing that all of these operations in other countries were going to happen. And so he had advanced information on whether to short or long the currencies of these countries that were about to go under. So this guy had ties with the CIA and other intelligence groups that knew that these things were going to happen. So he would short or long the currency, make the money, and then in turn use that money to pay for all of the turmoil in the country. And now he's doing it in America. And if and when President Trump becomes president, guess what? All of these DAs that have been taking money, all these judges aren't going to be in civilian court. They're going to be in military court. It's going to be enemy combatant time. There's a reason why the Supreme Court justice, when he was being interviewed for the Supreme Court justice job, All kinds of questions were asked about enemy combatants. That was no accident. That was no coincidence. Wait till you see what's coming next. Nothing can stop what's coming. If you're still here, please, I hope I have earned your subscription, and we will see you on the next Ultra Top Secret.